We're gonna start soon. We're gonna start soon. Oh, that's gonna sound weird. We're gonna start soon. Oh, that's gonna sound weird. Make it stop. There we go. Make sure we have the chat open. I apologize about my sniffles in advance. I'm just gonna post this to the group. Because skew it. Now what? Go away. Yeah. Right, take a swig of water real quick. Where's it coming from? That's weird. Anyway. All right. I'm gonna wait for someone to hop in here real quick. Shoot. Alright, I'm gonna preface this in advance. I do not claim to be a master gamer. I'm not gonna use the rewind feature because, you know, if I lose every once in a while, that's one thing. Having said that, if you're looking to come here trying to find, like, oh man, I'm gonna speed run this in like sub 2 hours, it ain't happening. This is around the time in gaming where games were beginning to become beatable, but they still weren't they weren't holding your hand like a lot of the later generations would end up doing. You know, they still expected you to have like familiarity with how video games worked. So like the first handful of levels are basically gimmies, but once you hit like the second world and beyond, that's when things are like, okay, you gotta start paying attention. And then from the 7th world onward, it's just brutal. So this is where I consider, like, this and Mario Brothers 3 was when gaming as a whole, not just the Mario franchise, but gaming as a whole became a bit more modernized. Because prior to this, you had stuff that was primarily for the arcade, and things that were, like, based off of arcade. Like, every once in a while, you get something like the original Castlevania, or something akin to like Mega Man, and maybe the first Legend of Zelda. But those were pretty rare throughout most of the 80s. And then the 90s is more or less when gaming became like a little bit more mainstream and what we would expect from the industry. And that's why when you go on to like the greatest games ever made on any list from like Watch Mojo to IGN to like forums, Metacritic, Game Ranks, Tier Maker, all that other stuff, you'll notice that like a good chunk of those games come from this era, specifically the early to mid 90s. Whoops. This is also the first generation where music in video games started to sound less like bleeps and bloops and a bit more authentic to what you would think a soundtrack should sound like. Because you also get the rise of CD technology as well. You start to see things like the Sega CD to an extent, you had the TurboGrafx 16, you had the 3DO, and the really horrible CDI. But it wasn't until the PlayStation, I'm not going to bother with these things, where CD technology really started to like become mainstream. And for the rest of that decade, with the exception of the 64, every system from I want to say like 93 onward would be CD based. And then obviously you get to the turn of the century with the PlayStation 2 and everyone adopting some version of the DVD technology, well, except for Nintendo again, going with some kind of mini disc. And now we're in a society that, or like, we're in a generation that doesn't even use physical hardware for like a lot of what we use. Like, I went to GameStop earlier, and I tried to find like a bunch of physical Switch games because I want to complete my collection before the Switch 2 comes out. And I was completely flabbergasted by the sheer lack of physical goods in there. So first of all, they don't carry hardly any Switch games. The GameStop I went to, Wii U has long since been dead. Not to give into the meme, but like, they don't. A lot of places don't even carry Wii U stuff anymore. They don't even carry Wii things. I mean, they do, but they keep it like off-site and in a warehouse somewhere, and they up the charges. You know, they're trying to sell people pieces of plastic for like $50. Which is one of the main reasons why I'm kind of excited about GameCube NSO coming into play. Because a lot of those games, right, like Eternal Darkness, the Fire Emblem game that's on there, Chibi Robo, games that have been, up until now, locked on those old hardwares, and the only way to, like, play them without forking over an arm and a leg is to pirate them. Well, hopefully this will incentivize more people to play these games, which will get more demand for like some dormant franchises like F-Zero, for example. And then it'll cause the physical goods to go down because people won't be at the mercy of these resellers. So Mario World was actually like one of the biggest games when it came out. Like, when they were advertising it, it was pretty much like the graphical powerhouse, or like the graphical weapon in the arms race that was the Bit Wars. So like, when they would do comparisons between Mario and Sonic, this was often the game that like both sides would end up using as a comparison. And then they would get away with how, like, Sonic would move faster, and allegedly that's what made it look prettier. But I think, in all honesty, this game holds up a hell of a lot better. Especially in the wake of, like, what ended up happening to the Sonic franchise. Whereas Mario had gotten so huge that, like, they were literally selling consoles just based off of him. Sega is basically known only for Sonic at this point. Like, I know there's some people who are really big into the Yakuza games. There's some folks who are like, they swear by, like Crazy Taxi or something. But by and large, Sonic, like whenever you think Sega, Sonic is more or less what's going to come to your mind. Maybe Shenmue. Eh. Like I know that's like what Adam Korlek would think if he heard that. Like he just defaults like to that and Dreamcast, but the Dreamcast is basically his bread and butter. But it's funny to think though, because you look at where this generation began, and then you look at like what Sega was trying to do to keep up with them, whether it was releasing like a bunch of different like a CD add-on, and then they made like a 32-bit add-on, then they had a 32-bit console in development that they plan on releasing, and then eventually they just jumped the ship to go and make a the Saturn, which was a 64-bit console, which that's kind of debatable, because the way I understand that system is that it has 2 dual processors in it, because the way they figured it was like games of that generation were going to be like 2D games with 3D backgrounds, and then PlayStation came out and just blew them out of the water and thought, But they released these pieces of equipment that are several $100s and expect people to buy it up. And then like that same year, they release something, or Nintendo comes out with Donkey Kong Country, and just, I think Donkey Kong Country probably did more damage to them than any other game, with the exception, by Yoshi, of Mario World. But it's kind of funny, because like for a decade, Mario World would be the last traditional 2D Mario game until New Mario Brothers on the DS. That game didn't come out until like 2004. What? No, correction. 2006. So, in the meantime, there was no traditional 2D Mario game. Oh wait, I'm sorry. It was I know there was like a Mario game on the Game Boy, Mario Land. That was the last one, and that came out in '92. So still, over a decade of no new Mario games, and no decade of like new Mario games that people actually played. I don't know anybody who ever played Mario on the Game Boy. Like I know allegedly that game sold pretty well in the system, but in my experience, the only game anyone ever played on that was Pokemon. I know some people like really like Tetris and they swear by it, but I think there's a reason why like you almost never hear anybody talk about like the OG gray Game Boy anymore. And then maybe somebody will mention Link's Awakening. Drop. But, so, in the meantime, when you have stuff like the Game Boy Advance, what they ended up doing is just pouring this game and, like, the larger franchise as a whole, for indefinitely. Fucking die. Didn't mean to swear there, but that's just the nature of the beast. You know, there was a time where I didn't swear, there was a time where I wouldn't have sworn nearly as often, but Time on the Surface will do that to you. That'll basically, it'll ruin your filter. And that's why it's so hard to integrate back into society. Anyway. Donut Land. I will say, like, this is actually, I'm curious what most people consider to be, like, the better game between this and Mario Bros. 3, because I think this certainly looks better, right? Because, like, the colors alone kind of make it better, but I can see either or being considered better. Like, it has, I think 3 has the way better power-ups than than World by like a long shot, just because like through sheer variety it's better. Ugh. Oh, I got lucky there. Nope. Oh, come on! And that's why I don't gamble. I wonder if those ever change. I wonder if there's like a pattern that like you can recognize and like speedrunners can use to basically milk that for lives. Of course, I know what most people do is like they'll end up jumping on a turtle over and over again and then just get continuous one-ups. Jump! And that is how it's done. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so like with this and Mario Brothers 3, just through sheer variety, 3 probably wins, but like this game has Yoshi in it. Although I will say, 3 has a way better like soundtrack. Like there's stuff in 3 that I will just like hum naturally throughout my day, but I think with Mario World there's like maybe 2 good tracks. I don't know if Koji Kondo was the composer for this yet. I know he's like heavily associated with the franchise and Zelda, but if he was involved in this, I don't know if this is considered like his best work. Like even this song, like the Underground Tomb, this is a version of the main theme. Of course, every game back then was blown out of the water by the Castlevania and the Mega Man games. Oh, and the Final Fantasies. Like I know Zelda generally has good music too, but with every game, there's usually only like 2 or 3 songs that like stick with you, whereas stuff like Castlevania has literally entire soundtracks that just, my god, you can make like an entire gym compilation out of them. What's this do? Oh. Oh, that's right! I totally forgot about this. Yeah, this leads to the secret world. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, this game has way more secrets than 3 did. But my problem with them is like, some of these are like really vague. Like, I have no idea how people figured some of this stuff out back in the day, like before the internet. But that's just like how gaming was back then. They expected you to like literally try everything and throw anything you could possibly think of at the wall and hope it would stick. And that's how I know that Gen Xers are just a different breed of people, because they have way more tolerance for this sort of stuff. Like, the whole 3 lives, no continues, 1-hit damage, you're done. Oh, 1 second. Kind of a shame to play this level over again to get across, but no harm, no foul. Plus, who knows, maybe we'll find another secret. Just kidding, I don't think there's another one in here. I think if I had to pick between the 2 of them, though, probably Mario World. But, like, man, I just can't get over how lazy they got with the series during the Game Boy Advance era, because they literally ported over every single game except for the original, which had already been ported over to the original, the Game Boy Color. Like, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, that was basically the prototype to the Mario Advance series. But it does make me wonder, if they had continued on with the series, what would they have later done? Like, what else would they have ported? But come to think of it, that's what the Game Boy Advance was known for. like, I know a lot of people really like to hype up the Game Boy Advance and claim it's one of, like, the best systems ever. And I could definitely see why you would think that, because it has, like, a lot of really solid games to play on it. Like, especially the Metroid and the Zelda titles. But, I feel like a good chunk of its library is just ports from the Super Nintendo. And that's why it had, like, the moniker Super Nintendo on the go. And then they made the DS, and man, when they brought Mario 64 and remade that, whew. Although, I will say, I kind of wish they did something like that with like a lot of the Wii games and the 3DS, specifically Mario Galaxy, because I think that system would have been capable enough to run it. But the problem with that is that a lot of games from like the Wii, the DS, the 3DS, the Wii U to an extent, they have unconventional controls, and you know, whether it's 2 screens, waggle controls, gyroscopes, things of that nature. Oh yeah, game pads. That's why when they have to port these games over and over again, like you'll get on every new system. Old Nintendo and Super Nintendo stuff is pretty easy to translate over. 64 requires a little work because it only has that one analog stick. Plus, I guess you could use the C buttons and translate that. Oh, that sounded nice. Oh, shoot. You could translate that stuff to the second analog stick. But I think, like, post-GameCube is when things really started to, not go downhill, but kind of splinter. Like, Nintendo really seemed to be going after, like, a more casual, sort of laissez-faire attitude to it, where, like, a lot of their hardcore games, like, say, Metroid, were getting the back burner, or, like, to say nothing of Star Fox, which had nothing throughout, like, almost all the last decade. And what you're left with is just like the bare minimum. And a lot of the 2010s was basically Nintendo more or less going back to the roots. Like you saw a reinvention, you had a prequel to Zelda, you had the reinvention of the Donkey Kong Country series, Mario kind of stagnated and went all over the place. Like, it's kind of weird, like from Galaxy 2 onward, like with the exception of that game, I feel like he stagnated a bit. Like, people were really blown away by, like, 3D Land because it was, like, a 3D-ish Mario game, but I think in retrospect, there's a reason why, like, nobody brings that up anymore. And then, like, we're all tired of the new Mario Brothers series. Like, they ran that sub-franchise to the ground, and now, like, virtually nobody hopes that series comes back. Because a lot of them just felt the same. And if anything, they only got worse. Like, I personally liked Mario Brothers U fine enough, but... oh shit. Talking mushrooms. And I saved myself. But I can totally see why nobody was willing to spend $300, or $350 plus, in my case, for a Wii U for that game. And speaking of the Wii U, I think the first game that people really sunk their... crap! Oh! I think that should have hit me, but whatever. The first must-have game for that system was Pikmin 3. And just like with the rest of the Pikmin series, nobody bought it. I mean, I did, because I'm like a sucker for that franchise. But, you know what, I'm not gonna even bother. It ain't meant to be, Jack. But, like, by the time Smash Brothers and Mario Kart had turned around, the momentum for the Wii U had been dead. Like, they really... not to dig that thing, like, kicking in its grave, but, that thing only had, like, 2 good years of its life, and then it just petered into nothing. But it's weird, because in those, like, 2 or 3 years that it was, like, genuinely impressive, relative, it made some of the best games of that generation. In fact, I'd argue that, like, the Wii U, a lot of its... god damn it. a lot of the Switch's best games are Wii U ports. So when people saw Pikmin 3, or Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, or Mario Kart 8, or even Breath of the Wild, people were treating that, oh, these are new games, these are brand new Nintendo games, they're making a lot of them. So they were basically able to cannibalize all the work that had been done in the Wii U and kind of like double dip. And it just goes to show the power of brand recognition and loyalty, because like no other company would have been able to pull that stunt off. Like, Sony tried doing that with the PS3 and they spent the entire generation paying for it. Like, they were just hemorrhaging money with that thing. To the point where, like, they almost lost to, the Xbox. Why did I do that? Bye-bye. Although, if you really want to be a cool kid back in the day, not only would you have this game, but you would have this in the cart, that had, like, all the Mario games. Because they had one called Mario All-Stars, which everybody knows about, but then they had an updated version of All-Stars that included Mario World. So you got all 3 of the Super Mario Bros. Games on the NES, plus the Lost Levels, and Mario World, for the price of one game card. Like, God, if I could ever find a copy of that, that would be, like, centerpiece of my collection. That has to be, like, the greatest game compilation ever made. At least up until that point. And they didn't just port over Mario World either. Like, they actually did some minor work with it. Like, apparently they changed Luigi's character model to where he, like, no longer just looks like Green Mario. Which I know that's the joke, that's what he basically is anyway, but, like, I mean, come on. The man can jump. And assassinate CEOs pretty much. Anyway! Ah. But there's just so much love to have between Mario Bros. 3 and World. Because it made you, like, it was the first Mario game to actually make you feel like you were going through a world and not just, like, some abstract levels that exist in video game world. Which is kind of one of the weird things you see with games like Mario Galaxy, where it's like, even in the realm of its own insanity, it doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, so prior to this, I know the Mushroom Kingdom has like its own little like rules and ways in which it functions, right? But then we get to parts of the universe where you have like a bunch of random space debris floating out in outer space, where there's not only oxygen but like plenty of light to go around. And it's like, where are these places and how do they work? But you don't really think about that because you're too busy being blown away by the live orchestra that's playing in your ear. Which, that alone, like, Galaxies, its music's never gonna get topped. I don't know why they ever abandoned that in favor of, like, some rock jazz stuff. They went for, like, 3D World or whatever the hell it's called. But, like, I will say this about all the Mario games. Like, every one of them has some music that's worth holding on to. Like, they're worth adding to your collection. And most of the mainline Mario games, even the ones that are, like, horribly unpolished, are worth, at least trying out. Like, even the bad Mario games, quote-unquote, they're only bad in retrospect to, like, the larger franchise. And by the franchise, I mean, like, the actual, like, real Mario games, not the spin-off nonsense that Nintendo keeps forcing them into. I don't know, Mario is, like, he's the Samuel L. Jackson of video game characters. He'll just appear in everything. I need to make sure my headset's, still working. Did my mic get broken? Oh wait, hold on. Let me
make sure my headset's still working.
Okay, cool. Because I've unfortunately broken my, or I've stepped on this cord with my elephant feet like 400 times, and I'm always paranoid that, like, oh, if you do something wrong during the stream, it's gonna destroy the entire thing, and then in retrospect, it'll look horrible. But I feel like this is gonna be one of those streams where, like, I'm gonna just cut out the, only the best parts. How does that work? Ah! Bye, Yoshi. Bye, upgrade. Die. Oh, come back! Get back here, dang it! Oh god, that is going to be so annoying. What is that awful sound? Oh, it was the computer. Wow. I'm going to abuse the hell out of that. Like, that's the thing, if you have the cape, like, this is one of the problems that people have with, like, the cape and the Tanuki suit, is, like, they basically reduce the game's difficulty down to, like, just barely anything. But I will say this, like, at least it's not like Donkey Kong Country where you can't even see what's going on to the right of you half the time. Like, that game was made in 4x3 and it frickin' shows. Trying to speedrun that game or, like, rush through it is a friggin' nightmare. Not only that, but, like, I always feel like the enemies in Donkey Kong always felt way more, screw it, they always just felt more badass. Like, they really do seem like they can go toe-to-toe with DK himself, whereas, like, the guys that Mario fights are all a bunch of plebs and jobbers. Like, look at this frickin' dude. He's not scary at all. Whereas some of the stuff you see later on with, like, Donkey Kong just looks like straight nightmare fuel. Ah! Nope. Not dealing with that. Something I really kind of admire about these games is, like, just how self-contained and proud they are. They don't feel the need to drag on for 12 hours, or, like, make you put your life on hold, unless you're a JRPG to an extent. There's no, like, hardly any filler in a lot of these games, but, you know, with a platformer, it was kind of, like, difficult to do. And all the levels, while, like, they're not, a lot of them don't stand out on their own, like, as a whole, they make the narrative or the identity of the game stronger. And yet, everyone always remembers that one level or that world from Mario Bros. 3, where it's like, oh, we're going to, like, Giant World, we get to step on, like, the giant Goombas. Speaking of Goombas, like, does anyone else kind of find it... What in the hell? What just happened? I don't think I've ever seen that happen. Folks, that was weird. Oh my gosh, I'm glad I caught that on camera, because nobody would believe me. That's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in this game. I don't think I've ever seen this game glitch out that badly before. Crap. I genuinely didn't know you could do that. Man, that's gonna make it for a good YouTube clip. Ah! How? Get me out of here! And And this is how I will be for the rest of the stream, this tiny little midget. Just like I am in real life. Anyway. You know, even though I never look forward to these ghost houses with Boo, I don't think I'm ever, like, disappointed playing through them. Like, if nothing else, they slow the game down to, like, a different pace. And they do kind of, like, tease your brain. It's not just left to right, and you actually have to, like, think of a way to escape the purgatory that is the Boo house. All the while, these soulless machines are chasing after you. Without mercy. Menacingly. Ah! Yes! Holy crap. But, like, I think on paper the Boos might actually be the greatest Mario antagonist, because not only can you make entire levels based just on this one enemy, but Luigi's Mansion proved that you can build an entire franchise around them. And then you add it with their ability to, like, change shape, and they force you to really maneuver around the environment. Like, they're both an enemy, and an obstacle, and a narrative device all in one. Like, I don't think there's any other enemy that has, like, as much, diversity as the Boo does. Oh, you sneaky bastard. And I'm really glad that Nintendo continues to, like, have stuff like the NSO around, so, like, younger generations can, like, easily try out these games that are not only important for, like, not only are they just great games to play, but for the bigger industry as a whole and the hobby, as well as an art form. This is, like, a must-play. That, again, besides Mario 3, is the first true must-play of, like, anyone who, like, considers themselves a gamer. Like, if someone asks you, like, why this should be considered art, just show them this. And it's amazing how well this holds up. Like, I wouldn't even... Like, I get that it's, over a 30-year-old game, but I don't think there's any kind of, like, growing pains that came with this generation. Because, like, if someone can't relate, or if somebody cannot go back and play third-generation games, I understand that. 5th gen with early 3D models and stuff like that, I understand that as well. But I think the 4th gen has aged like a really fine wine. Like, I think there's a reason why, like, so many people, like, so many Zoomers in particular, have warmed up to games like Earthbound and Link to the Past, for example. Maybe even Yoshi's Island here or there. But, like, literally, nobody even talks about Tomb Raider anymore. Nobody cares about, like, Clock Tower. Or maybe that's a bad example. But, like, a lot of early 3D games, like, you look at Donkey Kong 64, for example, Mario 64, even Ocarina of Time is starting to fall off its pedestal. Like, I know a lot of older millennials are going to keep it at the #1 spot forever, just because, like, they own the internet at this point. But I also think Ocarina of Time is one of the weaker entries in the Zelda, like, the larger Zelda franchise. But a lot of people really want to give it a thumbs up because it's, like, the first they ever played and it's the first 3D game, but it's not even the first Zelda game I ever played. My first was Link to the Past, and I always thought it was, like, a lot better. Because in large part, like, Link to the Past more or less covers the same beats, right? You know, with, like, finding 3 medallions, saving the princess, a midway plot point happens to up the stakes. There's, like, a sorcerer villain that gains control over a dark world, and you have to go through this dark world and, like, conquer, like, 7 or 8 dungeons. Like, I know that became the formula for the series, like, going forward, but, like, unlike Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past didn't need to bog itself down in semantics. And a lot of stuff that people give praise to Ocarina for like its cinematography, its story, its sense of epicness. These are the same kind of overrated fluff that they throw towards games like God of War 2018 and The Last of Us, where it's like they're taking a medium of video games and slowly transforming it into diet film or television. And it totally misses the point of like what makes gaming great in the first place. Like none of what you like in Ocarina of Time is told through you through gameplay. It's always told through you through like character or like a cutscene equivalent. Not only that, but games like God of War and Last of Us have a lot of like those slow-moving, unskippable walking scenes. Like, say what you will about Kingdom Hearts 2 and its like near endless onslaught of cutscenes that it has, but at least in the remake you have, the port, you have the ability to skip all that crap. When's the last time a game's ever let you skip the walking portions? Or one of those endless climbing sections you see in Uncharted? That stuff, like, that kind of crap to me kills replay value. Whereas a game like Castlevania 4, I can just, like, skip the intro cutscene crap. And then never have to worry about, like, that kind of stuff ever again. I just, like, pop in and play. Again, as I get older, I have less and less time to play games. So anytime we have the ability to trim off fat like that, I just adore it. Dang, what is wrong with me? Ah! Oh, I take this back. Oh wait, no, this is a remix of the main thing too. That's what a lot of these themes are, though. Like, they reuse, like, the central motif, but then they build around it. Which I guess was pretty common for tracks back then. Aha! Thank you. Okay, I take that back. This is a great level. Like, with the bullet bills, this is the kind of stuff that, like, I swear they built, like, commercials based off of. Or they would have, like, a professional, like, just play through it. Because this is great. When you're not stroking out like that. Dang it! Ah! Ah! Funny, I expected there to be one more round of bullets. The bullet bills, whatever the heck they're called. Sweet. Oh, you son of a pig. Ah! This is what I get for only playing modern games. You lose all of your skill. Oh, this is fun too. Crap. Mine. So, he comes back though, so we better hurry. Oh, thank the heavens. Yeah, probably not the best game to stream, considering it actually requires you to think like a gymnast. It's not just like some 3D collectathon where you can like sit back, relax, talk about anything, not really have to focus on the game. Like by the third world, not the seventh as it turns out, it's like, no, you're in this to win it. I'm really surprised that the last one didn't hit me. Also, look at this stuff. This man's got frames for days. Mario, we gotta talk, man. What was that? Oh, what's really cool about NSO, and if you're a member of like the Nintendo club or whatever the heck it's called, like you're a subscriber or your whatever, you have the option to order Super Nintendo controllers that work for NSO games. And they announced that with the Switch 2 coming out and GameCube support, they're bringing back the OG GameCube controller. But it's gonna be wireless this time. So, for those of you who were excited about trying out the Wavebird, hey, you might just be in luck. Oh my gosh! Ugh! And I know for a lot of people, like, I personally never owned a Wavebird because by the time that thing had come out, my family had already left the States, so, and they didn't have GameStops where we were, so, that would have been nice to try. However, I heard from a lot of people who did have it that it was, like, the first really good wireless controller. I don't know what technology it was using. It wasn't Blu-ray, or, Bluetooth. But, I think it was like some kind of like red laser or something. Still, it looked pretty cool. And if it functioned well, then hey. Plus, it's a GameCube controller. And GameCube controllers are always dope. Like, there are people to this day who still swear by the greatness of the GameCube controller. Like, one of the things they bring up is how they love how the buttons on the far right, they kind of build themselves around the A button in the middle, so it's like you never get lost where with the placements. Not only that, but like smashing the A button was so satisfying, especially in games like Metroid Prime that more or less require you to get comfortable with it. Man, I'm gonna be sweating bullets by the time we get to Bowser. I told everybody, I promised myself, I would not use the rewind feature. Oh no! Just be calm. Damn it! Gotcha! Crap. Got ya. I gotta say, when you don't have the rewind feature to rely on, this actually becomes like... Maybe this is the way to play the game. Yeah. The way it was meant to. I like how instead of just like blowing them all up with like the same stock animation, they actually like took the time to come up with clever ways for him to destroy them. Like, I know later on there's one time where he like uproots the entire castle and then like punts it into outer space. Or like he'll destroy it with like a hammer with a couple of times. And then there's like one later on where like it blows up in his face. Like he wants to blow it up and then doesn't do anything. And then it ends up making his face look all sooty and whatnot. Like, he's just covered in black tar, and all you see are his eyes. You know, it kind of looks like a certain Justin Trudeau photo. My goodness. I wonder what's gonna happen first. Me beating this game, or me dying of whatever sickness is going around. I don't know if it's COVID or flu or whatever, but apparently I stuck my nose where it wasn't supposed to be. Yeah! And now the Grand Overseer is having his revenge. Apparently I did something to upset the big man. I don't know, maybe it's because I told him that I thought, The Last of Us was overrated. And hogwash. Or that I don't really care about Xbox anymore. It's been a dead console. But speaking of the Xbox, like, I can't think of one game this generation, like, that's exclusive to them, where I'm just like, yeah, I gotta buy myself, like, this frickin' game. I can't even do that for the Xbox One. Like, I bought one of those things back in, like, 2014 when the Master Chief Collection was coming out, played those games, had my fill, retroactively played Dead Rising 3, and then, I played Sunset Overdrive. I played Rise Son of Rome and beat that. Man, what a time capsule that game is. And then after that, like, I got no burn out of it. Like, that's probably the system I have, like, it's the system that I bought that I have the least amount of time playing. Like, even on the OG Xbox, which is a system that I don't particularly like, at least that had something like Knights of the Old Republic and the first 2 Halo games. I know some people are really big into Brute Force, and then there's that Jade Empire game that a lot of people really like, but I never played. I keep telling myself I'll get around to it, and then, like, it never happens. Because it just... I don't think I've ever seen gameplay for it. But I know BioWare made it, so at least it has to be decent, right? Yeah! Wow. Yeah, I probably should start getting more of these coins. But, speaking of, like, systems, let's talk about the Switch 2, for example. I know a lot of people are kind of, like, they were really looking forward to this machine. They were expecting it to be around the $400 price round, maybe $450, and I think $450 is the most they could have gone away with selling it for, because I think once you start hitting, like, the 5 and 0, people's level of tolerance starts to, like, wane significantly. Like, I can't, like, that's one of the reasons why people don't really like the PS5 that much. That's one of the reasons why people don't like the Xbox Series that much. The PS4 was, like, only $399, right? But we also live in a post-COVID recession economy. And then when you have, like, other current events, jeez, good lord, that are going on and making certain markets uncertain. Yeah, I think they're just trying to cushion themselves for the blow. I mean, I'm not an economist by any means. I don't know how, like, the tariffs, when they come out, are gonna, like, affect game production. But I can't imagine that a hobby that gets most of its parts manufactured in foreign territories is going to be, like, cheap for long. Plus, we've been on $60 games for so long now that when people saw them trying to, like, sell you $80 and $90 for games, people were somewhat understandably upset with it. Like, I know you can bring up the inflation and say how, like, oh, gaming is cheaper than it ever has been. That's kind of true. But people still don't want to spend $90 on one game, especially with how often, like, you get Steam sales, for example. Like, $90 for any game is like a pretty big investment. But I'm also someone who's old enough to remember when games like Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time were going anywhere from like $100, like $80, $90 to $100, like brand new. And I've heard some people say that they remember paying $120 for it. And I don't know how true that is. but it wouldn't surprise me. Which is probably a big reason why so many people rented back then. Because VHSs were also, like, very similar when they came out. Like, they used to be, like, I think $40 for VHS? That sounds about right to me. I don't know, maybe it was 50 or 60 bucks. But that was also in, like, 90s money. And a lot of the older generations aren't gonna, like, they see the price of this, or they see people complaining about price, and it's like, yeah, it is. God, that's funny. At least back in, like, the day, your hobbies were expensive, but at least your commodities, so, like, your commodities were expensive, but your necessities were cheap. Now it's kind of like the inverse of it, where, like, the frivolous stuff you don't need is, cheap, but the stuff you desperately need, medical stuff, housing, clothing to an extent, friggin' food to some people, that's expensive. And I'm on the cusp. I'm still deciding if I want to get a Switch 2 or not. I think for me, another Mario game by itself probably wouldn't have been enough. But, everything besides that, like, it felt like when they were doing that presentation, it was specifically tied to me. Like, it's specifically everything that I wanted, because I wanted GameCube games. What is wrong with me? I wanted GameCube games to finally make an appearance on the new system. I wanted to have a new Donkey Kong game, a new Mario Kart game, and then there was, like, one other big thing that I would have wanted, but I'm, like, oh yeah, Metroid Prime 4. But that's coming to the Switch anyway, and I might just get it for that, and, I'm gonna try and do a pre-order, but if I don't get it, I'm not gonna be that upset. But I just know, like, ever since the advent of eBay, right, and, like, the era of the 360, and God, especially the Wii, there are so many scalpers that we're just gonna be at the mercy of trying to get these things for Christmas. Like, I know Nintendo's trying to, like, circumvent that by having a bunch of, like, hoops in the way of all these people, right? Saying how, oh, you need to have, like, 50 hours minimum on your Switch to qualify for a pre-order, and you have to, like, link it to an account. Which, that might help out, but I know for a fact that people are going to be selling this thing on eBay for, like, 2 or 3 times the price. It just seems like an all-around lose for everybody. Like, nobody is going to be happy with the situation, but at the same time, like, anyone who's calling Nintendo greedy, I don't know what to tell you outside of just, well, that's one of the problems with capitalism. Or, not capitalism, but, like, that's the problem with the video game industry, because it's so... Because video games are so intrinsically tied with capitalism, every game needs to be profitable. Every game needs to be profitable. Like, even more so than the film industry. Like, you could get away with making a bad movie, but you couldn't dare get away with making a bad game, because if you make even one of those now, you run the risk of sinking your entire, like, company. Like, your entire studio gets shut down. Or even if the game is good, but it's not profitable, even that gets sold off or shut down. Just look at the people who made Hi-Fi Rush. That's unfortunately, like, you know, it's a business world, people. People are in this to, like, have jobs and make money. Which is why, like, people who were really big in the Wii U back in the day, you really, if you wanted that system to succeed, you really needed to, like, pony up and buy stuff. Like, you needed to buy, like, enough games to make people say, okay, yeah, I'll develop for it. Because if there's no consumer confidence, there's no developer confidence. And if there's no developer confidence, there's no investor confidence. And then, like, you're gonna start the endless death spiral that is, failed consoles. I have no idea where the hell to go. Oh, sweet! Get me out of here! Oh, no. Oh, my God, no! Oh, thank goodness. Oh, just another reason why I don't particularly care for the Boo Castles. Because I feel like if you take one wrong move, you're just, like... Ugh! The death spiral. Now, I think there's a secret entrance in this world, but I don't particularly, like, I don't know, this is around the time where I, like, normally stop playing Mario World for, like, a session or so. And this is where, like, a lot of, like, the mid-stage burnout starts to come in. And that's just another clue that this game was made for consoles, because they did not intend you to beat games like Mario World, Link to the Past, Super Metroid, unless you're a speedrunner. They didn't intend for you to beat these games in one sitting, even though it's certainly possible. Especially if you're only doing, like, especially if you're doing, like, day-long streams, for example. But if you're just like a normal kid or an adult who like gets an hour of gaming a day to satisfy the itch, yeah, Mario will last you a pretty long time. Which is why back then it wasn't so absurd to cost like, gosh, $80 for this. Whew. And that was in 90s money. That's not adjusted for inflation. Like when I say 90s money, I mean like that was it cost $80 in 1990. So if that's adjusted for inflation, well, that's well over 100. Because a lot's happened since the days of Billy Clinton. You know, we had the Great Recession, and the War on Terror, and COVID, and an attempted assassination on a U.S. president candidate, and a former president. You had the Arab Spring, and you had the war in Ukraine, and the destabilization and breakdown of the New World Order. Aha! Man, that was a really dark history lesson. Where did I go just now? Maybe I'm like Mario. Maybe my head's in the clouds. Now what? Mario Galaxy is pretty dope, though. Ugh. I have no idea who these people that are hitting me up are, but we're moving on. Actually, I gotta pause here for now. Give me 1 second. Where's my messenger? Where are you? We're gonna share this with some people. Not sure how long. I'm gonna keep going though. Might wrap it up. And we're good. I don't know, maybe I should have streamed something a bit more modern just to like talk about that, because by the time I was like into the Super Nintendo, like that would have been around 95 or 96. So like the generation as a whole had already been wrapping up. I mean, I was born like pretty like in the generation. So while I experienced it in my youth, crap. It certainly, like, is not the console I think of when I think, like, childhood. I mean, it is, but, like, I don't know. When I think of, like, the stuff I'm actually nostalgic for, the Super Nintendo is there, but if I could only pick, like, one console, it'd be the GameCube. Which begs the question, do I think the GameCube is better than the Super Nintendo? And hot take, but yeah. But I can understand why people say no. Especially those who, like, grew up with both. When I think of, like, my favorite era in gaming, the 6th generation is usually, like, the default winner. Just because there's so many games from that time span, like, just on the GameCube alone, but also on, like, the larger PS2 and Xbox ecosystems, that it's just banger after banger after banger. And the GameCube had the strongest 18 months I've ever seen of, like at least exclusive lineup of any system I've ever seen. That's bogus. That's kind of bullcrap too. Now what? Ah! Like, in the first 18 months, that system had Pikmin, Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, the remake to Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil 0 might have just been outside that frame. You had the Wind Waker. You had Star Fox Adventures. Double Dash, I think, was also in there. And again, that's the first 18 months. But then that... Yeah. Oh well. That brings us to the issue of, like, well, why didn't the GameCube sell that well? Two things. One, the PS2 and Grand Theft Auto, no DVD play port. There you go, that's the real answer. Well, that's, like, the main answer. But the other one that people don't talk about is, yeah, that was an impressive 18 months, but after that was when the games started to slow down. Because you'll notice that when people talk about, geez, the best games for the GameCube, most of them come out within those first, like, 2 years or so. Like, occasionally they would make a sequel to one of their big games, like they made one for Metroid Prime and Pikmin. They would eventually get around to making Twilight Princess and Zelda Four Swords, which nobody played. Or Four Swords Adventure, I should say. But outside of that, it just seemed like Nintendo was making endless Mario Party and just superfluous crap that nobody really wanted. I got trapped so badly in that. Like, I get that every Nintendo system from the 64 onward needed at least one Mario Party game, but I don't think the GameCube needed Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7. Like, the game, like, that franchise was so saturated at that point, it was like the Assassin's Creed before Assassin's Creed. Where it was like, yo, Nintendo, what are we doing here? And it's funny, because nobody even played, for God's sake, nobody even played any of them after 4. I certainly didn't. It's like, oh, what's this? I can't play Donkey Kong? No thanks, I'm good. And they didn't even bring them back until 8. Like, I know he became, like, a fixture on the board, and people were making the claim, oh, well, it's because Donkey Kong's, like, a bigger character. It's like, and Wario and Luigi and Yoshi aren't? I mean, I get that Donkey Kong is probably the biggest of them. Dude! But, still, just to be robbed of my, my main, that hurt, man. Somewhere out there, my, DS is watching this and thinking, why do you choose to fail? And if you get this reference, well, thanks for, subbing more. Ah! I think this is like the only level like I kind of don't like so far. Everything else has been like tolerable to like, oh, this is great. This is generally like boring. It's slow. The music puts me to sleep. It's filled with these little fish bastards. I really hate that those bomb things do not kill those guys. Oh, it does work! I was curious about that, but I didn't want to, like, risk it. But now I know. Like, I'm, like, pretty sure that works. Get out of here, stupid fish. Oh, now we're cooking with fire. You can make me small on the screen for that. That was boomer humor. Although I am kind of confused, like, why this game is slowing down. I don't feel like there's too much on screen. Although I feel like we might be near the end. Which, thank goodness, I'm tired of this level. Although I really am surprised there hasn't been a single checkpoint. Because if there's any that warranted it... Die! Thank God. Oh yeah, this is where the secret is. Ah! Bitch! Whatever, we did it. Ugh. Somehow I knew that cheat. Yeah. Is that where they are? We'll see if this leads us to the castle or not, and if not, this might be the last level we stream for the day. Besides, some people want me to get into a chat call, and like, well, yeah, priorities. They're gonna make a Apex Depth compilation. Oh my god, these little bastards are ruthless. Thanks, Yoshi. Wait, where did we just go? Oh, come on, at least one, right? Oh, thank goodness. Admittedly, that would have been pretty funny. If I, like, just jumped over and it's like, you finally got one, but it did not matter. I know, if you eat enough of these fruit, you keep the doctor away forever. Okay, so if the bomb had already exploded, what was it that you were chewing on? Also, I'm pretty sure there's a secret around here, but where would it be? Oh wait, I think I do remember now. It's like the levels that have blinking lights on them have secrets. Yeah, that's coming to me now. Oh well. What? How did that miss? Crap. Really? Aha! Finally! Huh. So do those things give you anything besides points? Ah! How am I running out of time on so many of these? Goodness gracious. Oh no! Oh! Yeah, so there is a secret around here. Hold on. Ugh. Where the heck is this? Keep looking, keep looking. Did we overshoot it somewhere? So you don't need Yoshi to do it. Oh, it's in one of the friggin' pipes. God damn it. Alright, fine. And then I think there's like a level earlier on that we could have gone to and I could have like pressed some of the switches. But I'll hunt that down in like either another stream or like on my off time. Jump, you! Ah! Fish! Bollocks. You know, somehow I knew I was going to lose him anyway, but it's still sad when it happens. You know, it's kind of like having a goldfish or a step-parent, you know, where, like, you love them, but they don't necessarily love you back. What was he saying? Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't mind that childhood trauma, kids. I'm sure your parents love you. I wish mine did. Ah! Holy crap! Alright, so it should be... Here we go. No! Wow. Not gonna lie, I would have been pretty upset if that wasn't the case. Yes, get me out of this forest. Yeah, there's the castle. Alright, last level of the stream. Let's, go home strong. Ooh, I remember this level. This one with the snake. Yeah. We're gonna die here. A lot. Proceeds to finish in one go. Not happening, Jack. This level, it knows how I think, how I feel. Anyway. Oh no. Ah! Oh, that's some bullshit. It should have bounced off the snake. Damn it. Alright. Ah! Damn you! I kind of wish you could do that thing in Mario Brothers U or whatever the hell it's called, where you can have a spare item and then like use that. Oh wait, you can, but you can't farm them. Yeah, because by the time you get to like the second or third world in that game, you literally have so many items that you're just trying to find excuses to get rid of them. Also, not for nothing, but like, why is the star a thing? Like, I know the idea is to, like, for you to constantly hunt down these item boxes so that you can make it an endless chain, but the star, its time is so limited, it's almost not even worth having. Yeah, see? It should have bounced off the wall last time. See, this game's... It cheated. It literally kept me from being great. Moving, 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 moving. Oh, thank goodness. Crap, 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 crap. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, man, I almost died just now. Please, who is it? Oh, my God. This is literally the last boss fight, but, like, the same thing. Oh, crap! He's fast! Got ya! Woo! What a way to end it. Kind of boring, but, not the worst offender. I'm a little disappointed that they basically used the same boss fight twice, and, like, back-to-back nonetheless, on top of that. What's going on? Oh no! They transformed me into Justin Trudeau! How can they do this? Jeez. My goodness, Mario, you freaking took Bowser's castle and turned it into the Gaza Strip. Man, that was dark! Well, that's what we're going to end on. So, thanks to all the people who didn't watch this and all the people who are going to watch this retroactively and chop this up into clips to blackmail me later. But hey, this was fun. So, yeah, kudos.